AP Statistics students. So in this video, we're just going to go through another worked out example for the two-sample t-test. Here are the saturated fat content in grams for several pizzas sold by two national chains. Be sure that in checking the conditions that you plot both sets of data. Is there evidence that brand D has a higher saturated fat content than brand PJ? Now, before you do this problem with me, you need to pause this video and you need to enter this data into two named lists. So pause and do that now and then rejoin the video. So here we go. I'm going to say let mu subscript D equal the average saturated fat in grams for brand D, and I'm going to say mu PJ equals the average saturated fat grams for brand PJ. The null hypothesis will be the average for brand D minus the average for brand PJ is equal to 0. They have the same saturated fat content. The alternative hypothesis is mu D minus mu PJ. Is there evidence that brand D has higher fat content than PJ, is greater than 0? Because that's what they want to know. Is there evidence that it's higher for brand D? Okay. We're going to check our conditions and just run over onto the homework page, which is not going to be those problems. Let's check our conditions. All right, well, let's see. Let's assume that the 20 D pizzas and the 15 PJ pizzas were randomly chosen. And I think it's safe to say that the 20 pizzas is less than 10% of all brand D pizzas, and that the 15 Papa John pizzas, brand PJ pizzas, is less than 10% of all PJ pizzas. Now, because both of those sample sizes are less than 30, but we've been given raw data, what you want to do is you want to provide some kind of graph that you can describe their shape as being hopefully symmetric with no outliers. So we're going to make two graphs, and I would think that dot plots would probably be just fine here. So I'm going to turn on my calculator. I'm going to open up a data and statistics page, and I'm going to ask it to make a dot plot of the brand D. And this is my brand D. If I were taking a test or a quiz, I would be much more specific than this. It's got a dot, and dot, dot. Then it's got a bunch of dot, dots, and dot, dots, and dot, dots, and then dot, and dot, dot. Is that somewhat symmetric with no outliers? Yes. Now I'm going to ask it to quickly make a dot plot of brand PJ, and so it looks like this: dot, 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 dot. Well, I'm having a little trouble with brand PJ. So if I had to write a description here, I would say that the distribution of brand D fat is roughly symmetric. However, brand PJ is skewed right. So I'm going to be cautious in inferring from the two sample t-test. In other words, I'm noting that one of the conditions for Papa John's brand PJ has technically not been met. Make sure you point that out. Okay, so let's run the test. Well, we've got all this data in our calculator, so I'm just going to press menu. I'm going to go back to my calculator page, and I'm going to press menu, statistics, statistics tests, and find that two sample t-test. This time it says data input method, leave it as data, and go down and press OK. List 1, well, I named mine D, and list 2, I named mine PJ, and then leave both of those frequencies as 1, and then I've got to change my alternative hypothesis to the greater than case, and then go down and say OK, leave pooled at no. Okay, so let's see here. What I'm seeing on my calculator screen is that, let's see, X bar D is 11.25 grams. X bar PJ is equal to 6.53 grams. Okay, and so we want to take X bar D minus X bar PJ, so 11.25 minus 6.53. The calculator doesn't give that to you, but you need to write that down. We also need to calculate the standard error of X bar D minus X bar PJ. So that's equal to the square root of, well, I can see on my calculator screen that this first standard deviation is 3.19, so I need to square that, divided by the sample size of 20, plus I see the other standard deviation is 2.59, so I need to square that, divided by 15, and I need to get that answer, so I'll do that in just a minute. And let's see what else the calculator is telling me that is important. It's telling me that the degrees of freedom is 32.75. Just make sure that you report that. And then let's see, my t distribution has a 0. The observed difference is 11.25 minus 6.53 is a difference of 4.72 grams. Now, my p-value from the calculator a minute ago was like 0.000006, incredibly low. Okay. Now, let's go back and finish calculating our standard error. 3.19 squared divided by 20 plus 2.59 squared divided by 15, and we need to take the square root of that, 0.98. Okay, now what do we do since our p-value is so low? We reject the null hypothesis. So what would you write? Since the p-value is lower than the significance level, I reject the null hypothesis. And so then my second sentence should be in favor of the alternative. There is evidence that brand D has higher saturated fat content than the other brand, PJ. There is evidence of that alternative. And I'll leave the confidence interval to you.